being here. I am business coach Wendy Lawson. Today, we are having a bestie real talk on some ways to cultivate self-acceptance. And I feel like as women micro business owners in particular, okay, we are always on this tightrope, this sort of never-ending quest that we're on for self-improvement, right? We have these big dreams and these big goals and these things we want to do for our business. And we have to bring up our skill level. We have to work on some things for ourselves. We have to get some new knowledge. And it's easy that when we're constantly focusing on our deficiencies, what we aren't rock solid at, that it's easy for that to shift into having not so much self-acceptance. And it would seem like with this constant quest for improvement, for growth, for being better, that we could not live in harmony with self-acceptance. But friend, that ain't the truth, right? So I want to talk about that today because it's actually the exact opposite is true. You have to be 100% accepting of who you are if you truly want to become better, okay? So let's talk first about what is self-acceptance. And it's not the same thing as self-esteem. So when we think about self-acceptance is truly all about just embracing who you are. And when I say embracing who you are and accepting who you are, I mean without qualifications. I mean unconditionally. I mean without exception, being okay, accepting and embracing who you are right now. Now, that sounds fine and well. Okay, I can embrace who I am. It's not just the positive though. And this is where it's really, really hard for us. You've got to accept the negative. There are some things that you don't love about yourself that you wish were different. That is not self-acceptance. It's easy for us to accept, I got some really high cheekbones. It's easy to embrace those and love those. I also got some big hips. Got those from my mom and my grandma too. Got to embrace that and accept that. It is what it is. So you truly have to be able to accept both the positive and the negative. I'm not saying that you have to look at the negative, the things that are not your ideal, the things that you don't normally love about yourself, and just be like, well, it's okay, I suppose, right? You really want to, if there's things that it's possible to change, like skills. Look, I can't change my hips. The bones are the bones. Ain't nothing I can do about it, right? Maybe there's some stuff on top of the bones. Maybe I could work on that. But the bones are the bones. I can't, there's nothing literally, unless I go to surgery and like all of a sudden only have one hip, I'm not really even sure how that would work, right? I've just got to accept it. Being unhappy about it doesn't change anything. It just brings me down. So you really have to get to this place of unconditional acceptance. So, when we think about our actions or we think about our qualities, now there's things that we absolutely cannot change. I cannot physically change the color of my eyes. They just are what they are. I could get contacts, but I can't truly change them. Okay. So for that, I have to become unconditionally accepting of them because they're completely out of my control. However, when we think about our actions and our qualities, okay, that is separate from who we are. Our qualities and our actions are things that we believe, ways that we act, and things that we do. Now, accept unconditionally, okay, when we want to unconditionally accept ourselves, that means we have to separate our actions and our qualities from ourselves. I can be 100% accepting of myself and realize and embrace and be okay with the fact that, you know what, my actions and my qualities are not perfect because y'all know perfection is an illusion, does not exist. I can make mistakes, I can have flaws, and I can still unconditionally love myself because I separate what I do from who I am at the core. I separate the mistakes that I've made or the qualities about my personality or things that I do from who I am. I can unconditionally love myself and accept myself for the way I am. What's so important, you guys, and we seem to forget this, we are human, which means what happens? Sometimes we crush it. Sometimes we get up here and we go live and we say everything we wanted to say and we sound intelligent. And then sometimes we make mistakes. We fumble our words. We forgot what we were going to talk about. We get off track. But it's okay. It's embracing all of that. There is no judgment when you say, you know what, my qualities and my actions, I did the best I could with where I was at the time, and I still accept myself unconditionally. I'm going to love myself, you guys. Let me be honest with you right now. I'm pretty good on the unconditional self-acceptance, okay? Whether or not anybody showed up for this live today, whether or not I nail it, whether or not it's filled with mistakes, I'm going to accept my performance as I did the best I could with who I was and where I was and the resources I had at the time. That's all we can do. That's all any of us can do, is truly understand that all we can do is the best we can do. Really wrapping your head around self-acceptance and saying, you know what? I accept myself for all the good and the less than amazing, accepting the flaws. And y'all, I have flaws. There are things that I wish I were better at. There were things that I wish were different, but they are, and I accept them for what they are. I want to talk for just 1 second about the difference between self-esteem and self-acceptance, because self-acceptance does impact your self-esteem, but they are not one and the same. Self-esteem is how you view your value. Self-esteem is how much you value yourself. You can say, I have high self-esteem. I can come into a group. I can just talk because I believe that I have value to provide. I believe that I am giving good information. I have high self-esteem because I'm willing to put myself in the spotlight because I believe that I see some value right in here. Self-acceptance isn't really about the value. Self-acceptance is about accepting and appreciating and understanding even the parts of you that are not like esteemable. Esteem is like, oh, I hold him in esteem. I high value, right? There are parts of me, y'all, parts of you, parts of all of us, because again, spoiler alert, we're human. There are parts of us that are not esteemable, but self-acceptance means I'm okay with that. I accept that. So that's sort of the difference between self-acceptance and self-esteem. Now, I will tell you, when you 100% unconditionally accept yourself, then your esteem, beep, 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 your self-esteem is going to go up. If you are struggling with self-acceptance, your self-esteem is going to go down. I want to talk about what are some ways that we can cultivate self-acceptance. Remember, accepting that you ain't perfect, accepting that there's some things about yourself that are not amazing, accepting that you don't know all the things, there's still things to learn, doesn't mean that you just say, okay, I'm done. Oh, well, skills out there that I never learned. Oh, well, but you have to be okay with who you are before you can truly work on self-improvement, before you can truly make meaningful changes that are going to elevate you and your business. So how can we cultivate self-acceptance? All right, so let's talk about a couple things we can do. The first one, and y'all, this is a big one, and I think particularly for female micro business owners, this is a struggle for us, and that's celebrating our strengths. If I were to ask you right now, tell me one thing that you need to improve, it would take you all of approximately 0.2 seconds to raise your hand and be like, oh, I need to improve this. I'm not great at this. Oh, I'm horrible at this. Oh, this is a weakness for me. However, on the other hand, if I were to ask you, hey, tell me right now what your greatest strength is, it would be crickets. I don't know. I don't know what my strengths are. I mean, I'm okay at graphic design, but Heather, she's so much better. Or I guess I'm an okay writer, but Candace is better. Or I've really spent a lot of time learning SEO, but it's not perfect. So this is what we do. We don't celebrate our strengths. And y'all, you've got to celebrate your strengths. If you want to accept yourself, if you want to cultivate self-acceptance, you've got to celebrate your strengths instead of just making the list of the weaknesses. What are the things that you rock? What are the things that you're amazing at? Okay. So really, spending some time to celebrate your strengths, because you're a unique person and you have strengths that I don't have, right? You have strengths that other people don't have, and you don't realize what a benefit they are until you like when you downplay them, you're not giving yourself the credit. You're not recognizing these gifts and these things that you've learned and these strengths. So how can you do that? You can start off, get your journal out if you're the journaling type, and really start writing down some of the strengths that you have. Imagine you're in a job interview. What would you say your greatest strength is? Start writing them down. And if that is too much, if that's too hard, then commit to just writing down one a day. Like just spend a few minutes and say, okay, what is a strength that I have that I'm glad for? How can I honor this and recognize and accept the fact that, hey, guess what? I have these strengths, okay? If even that is feeling, ooh, I don't like it, that's weird. Here's something else you can do. If you struggle with coming up your strengths, make a list of all the hardships you've overcome, because y'all, life is hard. And I know that you've gotten through some stuff that other people haven't been able to get through, right? Or maybe they have gotten through it, but still you got through it too. List all those hardships, all those hard things that you've overcome, all the goals that you've accomplished. Think about all the connections that you've made. Like you put yourself out there and introduce yourself to a stranger, maybe in person, maybe on the internet, right? But you've made those connections. Think about all the lives that you've touched through your business. You've probably touched a lot of lives. So really, when you start thinking about that, that can help you honor your strengths and really celebrate your strength. We don't want to focus always on our weaknesses and where we need to improve, but we want to celebrate our strengths. So the second thing, if you're working on your self-acceptance, to really think about side-eye coming at you, consider the people around you. Who are you hanging out with? Whose jibber jabber are you letting go into your ears? Are you listening to people who talk crap? Are you listening to people who are just filled with negativity? Are you talking to people who are negative to you? Are you talking to people that don't believe in your dream and are just the porcupines in your balloon factory? Who in your life is reinforcing the negative self-talk that's already in your head? Because you guys, women in particular, we are rock stars at the negative self-talk. Who are you listening to? Who are you surrounding yourself with? Who's reinforcing that in your head? And then I really want you to ask yourself, why are you allowing that? Why are you allowing that? Number 3, create a support system. All those people who are speaking negativity and all the porcupines in your balloon factory that are just shooting down your hopes and dreams, they got to go. You want to distance yourself from people who make you feel like crap, and you want to surround yourself with people who accept you for who you are, not who you're gonna be, not who you were back in high school, but who you are today. You want to surround yourself with people that believe in you. I'm just going to give you a 5-second plug for Her Success Map, my membership group, because that group is filled with women who believe in you for who you are today. If you want to learn more about that, you can go to hersuccessmap.com. But really, if you're not there, if you're not doing a mastermind, if you're not wherever, get yourself a support group. Get yourself people who believe in you and who are gonna accept you for who you are. Because just like when we let the negative Nancy's all when we absorb that and take that in, the support system, the people who lift us up and believe in us, guess what? We internalize that as well. So you want to make sure that you are surrounding yourself with people that are going to lift you up and not pull you down if you're trying to cultivate self-acceptance. This is a big one. And I will tell you, this was an area that I have struggled with personally. But if you're working on cultivating self-acceptance, y'all, that means you've got to forgive yourself. You've got to forgive yourself. Those past regrets, those mistakes that you made in the past, those big screw ups that you had, the times that you hurt other people, the person that you think you were when you were a teenager and you were horrible. That's just me, I'm saying. that's what I struggle with. But all those things in your past that just sort of bring themselves back up, you got to forgive yourself. You got to forgive yourself and move on. Think about when you were starting your business, or think about the mistakes that you made in your business a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. If you're still beating yourself up over what happened a year ago, 2 years, or three years ago, you can't move on. Today's you is blaming 3 years ago you. And listen, 3 years ago you doesn't know what today you knows. If you're still beating yourself up because you didn't do something even 6 months ago or a year ago in your business, you did the best you could with the information and the knowledge you had at the time. So you've got to forgive yourself and move on. Shut the door. It's happened. Regretting it and being upset with yourself is not going to change anything, right? You've really got to forgive yourself. And I mean, truly forgive yourself. Say, you know what? I made the best decision I could. I took the best course of action with the knowledge and the information that I had at the time. And that was all I could do. It was good enough. I forgive myself and I'm moving on, and then move on. I mentioned earlier the mean girl. Y'all know, oh, we got that mean girl up in our head who likes to point out everything that we've ever done wrong and why we're a fraud and who do we think we are, right? It's time to shut her down. Y'all, we've talked about this a lot of shutting down the mean girl, but you got to shut down the mean girl. Our brain plays this little trick on us that tells us that mean girl in our head, she's just speaking the truth. She's just looking out for you. She's that fear, that those words that are coming out, she's trying to protect you. She's just telling you what other people won't. No. Okay. If she wouldn't say that to your best friend, if your best friend wouldn't say what she's saying to you, it's not true. It's just mean. Now, you cannot practice and cultivate healthy self-acceptance when you got some mean girl up in your head all the time. So you've got to just quiet her down, shut her down. So you know what? I ain't got time for you. Girl, you ain't invited to this party. So really paying attention to what's going on in your head, you know, the mean girl in your head, and intentionally choosing to not hear her. Okay. Another really effective way to cultivate some self-acceptance is being okay with and sort of grieving the loss of unrealized dreams. We have, as children in particular, we had these big plans and these big dreams, and we saw through our little girl eyes of what the future would look like. My little girl eyes, I was going to be the next Pat Benatar. Y'all, I can't sing. Okay. I can't sing, but that's what I was going to be. If we are constantly trying to hold ourselves up to that little 7 or 8-year-old girl's dreams and what she thought the future was going to be, it's unrealized. It's never going to happen. Y'all, never going to be Pat Benatar. Never going to happen. It's really difficult to accept who we are because we're really blaming ourselves and holding ourselves to accountable for dreams that were completely unrealistic to begin with. It's okay. It's okay to grieve the loss of that unrealized dream and say, you know what? Yes, it was a beautiful dream and it would have been nice. And I'm sad that it didn't happen, but I've got to let it go. Grieve over the loss of what you had hoped would happen, but don't stay there. Grieve and then move on. And then finally, the last thing I want to leave you guys, we're ending with, I think, the one key takeaway that's more important than all of the other. I mean, the others were activities, exercises that you could actually do. It all comes down to this, okay? You have to set an intention to cultivate self-acceptance. You have to set an intention to say, you know what? I accept myself for who I am. Because until you set that intention, it's easy to fall into the blame game, or, you know, it's easy to be conditionally accepting, but not unconditionally. You truly have to say, you know what? Self-loathing doesn't get me where I want to be. So I am setting an intention, and you have to set the intention that, you know what, I'm going to live with self-acceptance. I'm going to accept myself, and I'm not going to indulge in self-hatred. I'm not going to tear myself down, but I accept myself for who I am and where I am unconditionally. And when you set that intention, then you can use the exercises and sort of some of the things I talked about earlier to help you bring that intention to life. But it starts with the intention, because you guys know everything starts with an intention, right? When you're talking time management, if you're sitting down and you have a to-do list, well, if your intention is to get through your to-do list, then you're going to get through your to-do list. If you ain't got no intention, what's going to happen? I don't know. You might not even look at your to-do list. Okay. So I really wanted to cover this because I think self-acceptance is like the beginning of everything. As business owners, carry the weight of the world on our shoulders sometimes. And it starts with us. It starts with, if we're not strong, if we're not healthy, if we're not whole, then how can we bring these dreams to life? And how can we serve others? And how can we create the world that we want to see? So you guys, that's it. I would love to see in the comments how you are going to cultivate self-acceptance. I love you madly. Have a great day.